Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to everyone. So on behalf of ASM, I'm delighted to welcome all the members to this special edition of the Leadership Talk series. My name is Amin, I'm from the Class General, and I'll be your host for today's session. So this leadership series is about creating a space to connect with top thought leaders in the actuarial field. So with insurance, risk, and finance landscapes evolving constantly, so it's good that we can hear directly from seasoned professionals for us to help stay ahead and prepare to lead ourselves. So today we are thrilled to have with us Kartina Tahir Thomson, the president of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, IFoA. So Kartina brings over 25 years of expertise across actuarial science, risk management, governance, and regulation. So her career spans top organizations from the Big Four audit firm and the Bank of England to global insurers, and now with Ulista Watson, where she is the senior director leading the risk and governance. So Kartina's extensive experience and strategic insights have guided organizations through complex challenges and shaped successful global strategies. So beyond her executive roles, Kartina also serves as a non-executive advisor to a FTSE-listed company and a fintech firm, bringing valued perspectives on UK and European insurance regulations. Her experience on various boards also proves invaluable in regulatory strategy and implementation. So Katina is also a passionate advocate for the profession. She also was part of the IFoA Council, the board of the Actuarial Association of Europe, and the chair of the IFoA Foundation, championing inclusion, social mobility, and education for future actuaries. So members, please feel free to also send questions via Slido here. And Katina will address, and we will address them at the end of the Q&A at the end. So we are truly honored to have her here with us today. So let's give a warm virtual welcome to Kartina Tahir Thomson. Hi, Kartina.
Hi, Amin. Assalamualaikum. Hi, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam. So thank you so much for taking time to join us today. So it's a pleasure to have you here. So how have you been?
Very well, actually, but I've been traveling. I'm in Tokyo at the moment, and I was in China before this week. But the good thing is I'm meeting quite a lot of members. So that's great for the role. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, that's good. So how long will you be there? Would you like to share any recent updates as well that you would like to share?
I'm going back tomorrow, actually. But it's been a really good trip. Certainly meeting members in China, and China is such a big actuarial professional growth in China, you know, they're doing a lot of innovative things on that, and it's exciting to see actually that people are thinking outside the box and championing the actuarial profession with the wider market.
Okay, that's good to know. So I think we can proceed with the session today. So maybe we can start with your early childhood. So we can go at the background, how you grew up in Malaysia, if not mistaken, in Kota Kinabalu. So growing up in Kota Kinabalu, were there any experiences or people who had, big influence to your career path today?
Yeah, I grew up in Kota Kinabalu in KK, and it was such a great experience. Actually, it was very inclusive in terms of the community. The beach is just around the corner, so what's not to like, right? But when I was 15, I went to a boarding school in Taiping, which is, I always tell people it's not the fancy Hogwarts kind like in the UK, in England. It's Mara run. It's MRSM in Taiping, and it's also an experience, actually, coming from Kota Kinabalu, where it's quite liberal, and stuff like that. So going into MRSM Taiping was a surprise and a big shock for me, and I quickly gathered like-minded people around me, and that included, actually. So I played a lot of tennis, and I did a lot of sports when I was young. And it was actually my tennis coach, that Cikgu Hamid Aman, who brought my attention to actuarial science. He said, you're good at maths, right? And I said, yeah, yes, I guess. And he said, well, why don't you consider, because I was already considering accountancy, but he said, why don't you consider actuarial science? And I researched it, and that shaped my initial path to doing the degree.
Yeah, so at that time, I understand it is not easy to find or understand about actuarial science. Even right now, actuarial science is not really, fully, that's that kind of popular subject or course taken by others. So how did you do your research at that time?
Well, there wasn't any Google,
Yeah.
at the time, so it was almost like, I actually don't remember. It was almost like going to the library, checking out resources on whatever they have in the library, talking to people. I didn't really meet any actuary when I was there. Actually, I just blindly followed. To a certain extent. But what I liked about it is the challenge. I like the challenge of, there's not many scholarships, and I had to have a scholarship because we couldn't afford to send me anywhere on a privately. So and I like the challenge of trying to see whether I was good enough to get an actuarial science scholarship. And Alhamdulillah, I did.
Yeah, maybe you can share how you got the scholarship, because at that time, there are no, like, all these kind of scholarships, the private company scholarships. So even the government may not also know what's actuarial science at that time. There are not many universities also offering actuarial science. I'm not sure whether there is one in Malaysia at that time. Is there any university offering actuarial science in Malaysia? I don't think so.
No.
So you was only need to go overseas to study actuarial science. So how was that challenge?
The challenge of getting the scholarship was, actually, it was quite structured, because MRSM was quite focused on supporting students to get scholarships. At the time, there were a handful of scholarships. It was, I think, Mara, JPA, and probably Petronas, actually, at the time. But I was attracted, again, this competitive nature of mine, the fact that you could go earlier, before the results came out, if you wanted to. And Mara was the only one who offered an early scholarship to the UK.
Okay. So you went to the UK, so you studied there, and then you decided to work there. So your career path has been quite unique, and then you have been moving between a few companies, to the Bank of England, to the regulator, and PwC. So what inspired these career changes moving from, insurance companies to regulator to consulting?
That's a good question. I think that I've reflected on this actually for the last few months, and I think it's because of the theme there is learning new things. Yeah. So it's a thirst of learning new things, experiencing new things. To be honest with you, when I first started, when looking at jobs in '98, it was quite difficult because it was the Asian economic crisis. I was actually supposed to come back, and Mara said to me, actually, maybe you shouldn't come back because it's going to be tough for you. So I stayed and I filled in over 100 application forms. At that time, it was all paper-based to see whether I could get a job in the UK. And of course, you need probably half of that, more than half of that discount you immediately because you need a work permit. So it's only the global insurance companies who offered work permit, and I was lucky enough to do quite well in the Prudential graduate interview schemes, and I started there. But it's the thirst of learning new things. So when I was when I decided to go to Marsh, for example, it's as a broker, it was a recognition that I wanted to improve my communication skills, and where else to do it when except for at a broking firm where relationship and communication is key to your role. So it forces me to learn new things. So I quite like the idea of doing things that I've not done before.
All right. So it's more about, as you mentioned, you are open to challenges. So you like all those challenges. So you are also open to try new things. So not just being complacent with what you are comfortable with. So moving through different kind of career paths helps those progress as well, as you mentioned. So having all these experiences, so what were the biggest challenges that you have faced, especially as a Malaysian woman in the international actuarial field?
And I think there's always going to be challenges, right? And I think for me, it's the perception of what people think of me and what I can do. I think throughout my career, I've always been underestimated, probably. So there's some bias. So I think it's sometimes human nature as well. People uh, look at you and they think, oh, she's not senior enough, or she looks too young, or I don't think she's experienced enough. Um, Even recently, when I was at the live conference, somebody thought the director of membership at the IFoA is the president rather than me. So so I think there's some perception, but I think that the challenges is to break that perception, right? To prove that uh, uh, you can do what you're there to do, and you can thrive in the role that you're there to do. And I quite like that because I as I said before, I quite like a challenge.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's not easy to change people's perceptions, especially when you need to prove yourself, in a very challenging environment of actuarial science. So with your very experience, how would you say that shaped your approach to leadership today? Yeah. So how is your
I,
leadership style now after going through all those experiences?
so I'm a big believer of reflection and projection, right? So I quite like I always look at how I've done, how, what I could do better, get feedback, and then project that forward. So I think for me, it's learning, continuous learning, lifelong learning is very important. So you're always going to make mistakes. You're always going to have challenges, but it's how you react to it is the key to a leadership philosophy. The other thing I would say is that I quite like to set clear expectations for people, so the people I work with, for myself as well. But I also like to give autonomy to people to deliver what they're supposed to deliver, right? So I am very supportive around that. But for me, leadership is around collaboration and teamwork and giving people the freedom to deliver it the way they would deliver it.
Yeah. So do you have any experience learning from your previous supervisors, the leaders in your companies, which helps to shape who you are today? Any particular person come into mind or any experiences of a particular
There
leader
are
or anything?
there are leaders that come to mind. Now, leaders I probably think I'm not sure I want to be like that. And I think it's probably because of a reflection of how I am and my values as a person. There's different types of leadership. Some work for some people and some doesn't. But my focus is delivering through people by making sure that I understand their values and understand how they're going to deliver it. So if you support people in delivering their objective by understanding their values, I think that's a win for everyone. And I always try to do that, try to understand what drives people.
Yeah. So you advocate inclusion, diversity. So how do you plan to foster greater diversity of thought and inclusivity within the profession?
Yeah, so within the profession, one of my key priorities for the presidency this year is around vision. And vision in terms of making sure that we have a sustainable future for the next generation of actuaries. And to do that, we need to embrace diversity and inclusion, right? And the way I believe we can do that is through various different things. One is to broaden the pool of people coming into the profession, so it attracts different types of people, different types of mindset. And I'm hoping that the chartered actuary designation will do this, because people are not too fixated on specializing to be a fellow, and chartered actuary has that brand to give people the credibility and the emphasis on their qualification. So that's one. The other is through the work of the IFoA Foundation. I would like to emphasize more around, supporting social mobility, giving people grants, scholarships, etc. So that's important. And the third one I would say is raising awareness of the actuarial profession. I think I really think that we are not early enough to capture people, the students' imagination from grassroots education. I think we start too late at the university stage, and I think we can do better around raising our awareness in school age, um, even middle school, if not senior school.
Yeah. So you mentioned about, I think we mentioned about the awareness even 25 years ago. when you first started knowing about actuarial science is not common. Even now, it's still not much progress is there, especially for students. So what do you think that the profession should be doing in order to create this awareness to students and to pursue this kind of career in the actuarial field?
So what I learned over the last few months is actually when talking to a lot of people, especially with members, is that individuals are influenced by the people above them or the people around them, right? So, for example, if the person's manager said you should volunteer for the profession, they would volunteer and then they would role model that behavior, right? So, I think it's not just a discrete activity that we can do and then that's it. I think it requires everybody's effort, everybody, 33,000 members to do this actually. So I mean, you can go to your alma mater and speak a bit about actuarial science with students, right? And I can go to my kids' school and talk to people there. So I think that there's something that we all can do together, and what the system, the IFoA can do is enable that, making it easier for people to do that, having materials and marketing assets and information and the network to help people do that. So I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think we need to start with ourselves in order to create the good example, and then also to start sharing with around our network. Even our family members do not really know what we actually do as an actuary. They just know we do numbers. So so that's something that should start from ourselves. You've spoken also about sustainability. So about we need to be sustainable for the next generation of actuaries. So could you share what that means to you and your vision of achieving it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before that my one of my priorities is vision. What skill set we have our actuaries have, what is our education fit for purpose, how are we going to enable our future actuaries to make more of an impact, not just in financial services, but the broader and the wider fields, right? So a few things that we're looking at the moment. One is council is focused on vision, and that includes education, skill sets, and mindset and things like that. We're looking at the whole education strategy around syllabus and the format of how we can do that, and including in this is the consideration of diversity and inclusion, but also um, the skills that we want people to have. So it's not just I'm a big advocate for that we have the transferable skills to go to any domains we want. And I think and a lot of feedback that I've received is that, as actuaries, we're quite so we problem solve, we are creative thinkers, we go back to first principles, and therefore we're quite flexible in suggesting a solution for people to consider. So I think we need to enhance that. So that's why we're looking at AI, climate risks, and things like that. So a lot of things going on, and underlying all of this is the research and thought leadership that we continue to do.
Yeah. So I think maybe can also add further about your impact as a president of IFoA. What are some of the initiatives that you wanted to focus on other than the vision that you mentioned?
Yeah, other than the vision, the second a priority that I have is on value, so member value. And the third one is on engagement. So the second one is on member value, to recognize that members want different things to each other. And the fact that people in different regions will want different things from the IFoA and their association. And so recognizing that and personalizing that is important. So I'm working around getting member feedback, making sure that we support members the way that they want to support. So for example, we're trialing Greater China Committee that is collectively man or woman by volunteers and members. So it's member led, and then we are doing the same trial in the Middle East as well. We have a Middle East committee. So the idea there is for member to influence member to influence the market. And we as IFoA give support on that rather than the other way around. And then the third one is on engagement. The feedback that I've had from members is they want to get back into in-person, they want to connect, they want to network. So we're giving more of that whenever people want it. So, you'll see quite a lot of in-person events from the IFoA across everywhere that we have members.
That's interesting. So it's the engagement, getting feedback from the members and getting members to lead initiatives, lead the programs organized by IFoA as well. So for the past few months as a president, any key highlights you'd like to share? Any key experiences that you think is worth sharing to us?
I mean, the highlight for me the last few months as a president is meeting members. It's such a privilege and an honor to see all the members, not just in the UK, but everywhere else. And receiving that feedback from people, what's good, what we can do better, and that's just so important to the role. And to the organization and to me as well, because it's a member association. That's a key word there, member, right? So we need to make sure that members' needs are prioritized.
Yeah. So for what advice do you have for us in order to how we can contribute, how we can help, IFoA, how can help ASM, how can help the actual profession in advocating the three pillars, the three visions that you have shared earlier?
So I think partnership is very important. IFoA is not there to lead on the regions. It's there to support local association in terms of what you want. So, for example, with ASM, what do you need from the IFoA is the first question that I would ask if we have this conversation again, because I think it's important for IFoA to do it that way, because it's about the greater impact of the actuarial profession, the general actuarial profession, rather than specifically IFoA. So if we can work together and knowledge share, whatever you need to influence the market, your market, to influence the regulators, to influence stakeholders, we're there.
Yeah. So with the current advancements in technologies, data science, sustainability, climate change, all this evolving roles required by actuaries, because we actuaries are here to solve problems using data, using stats. So how do you see the role of actuaries evolving or changing over the next decade?
I think there's a lot of opportunities for actuaries to pivot with the advent of AI, right? And data science. I think we can really add value. We can focus on, in my view, the fun stuff, and let the data collection, data manipulation, the basic stuff be done by others, right? And what we can do is truly add that value from a judgment perspective in terms of what the data is saying, what does it mean for stakeholders, how can we help, and what's the solution? Because we understand it, we focus more on that judgment based piece. So I think we have a really great opportunity to do that. I think the fact that we understand risks as well and we understand uncertainty is something that we should embrace, and we should emphasize around this. And then finally, I would also say that what we can be good at is, I mean, what I said before around the transferable skills. I think with the right mindset and a growth mindset, we can make so much impact on different fields, different organizations, other than financial services.
Yeah, also on that note, because beyond other traditional roles of actuaries, what are other roles outside actuary, the profession that we can make real impact, and how we can adapt to these opportunities?
Yeah, so I think there's so much opportunities around. I think we just have to look at it, right? I mentioned growth mindset before, and I really think that it's something that each and every one of us should consider. So things like companies like technology companies. I know there's a lot of actuaries now, and in Uber, Google, Amazon, for example. Aviation is hiring a few actuaries. So Qantas, Asia, they're hiring actuaries. There's some actuaries in energy companies. I know a few that's doing well in a steel company, pharmaceuticals, anywhere that requires or values. Even if they don't value, we add value around the quantitative side of things, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, definitely many opportunities if you look at it, if you research for it. Like you mentioned, when your earlier career, you look for research on actual science. So that continuous learning, that continuous exploring opportunities outside is also something that we should do. So I think we have a few questions on Slido from the members. So maybe just one last question from my side. For young actuaries, especially those from diverse backgrounds, what advice would you give them if they're interested in following a similar path as yourself?
What advice? I think I think I keep coming back to perseverance and grit, right? And I really believe that if you fail the first time, don't take that as you're going to fail ever every time. So my advice is, if get up and try again, do something else, reflect on what your experiences were, and apply that to how you can be better. Again, back to growth mindset.
Yeah. Maybe just one last point, a quick one. You mentioned a lot about reflecting on your own. So how do you reflect? How do you do your reflection specifically?
So a couple of things. One, either it's specific task, or I have a general reflection in a broader general reflection. So on specific things, as a consultant, after every project, for example, I'll have a reflection, close out, talk to people, get feedback, certainly from clients, but also the people that I work with. And then apply that to what you need to do, right? Going forward, how you can do better. On a more broader reflection, this is a bit harder because our lives are so busy, and you get distracted from everything. So I used to have, which I don't anymore, unfortunately. I need to get back to the routine. I used to have half an hour every morning just to sit down and think, actually, what is it that I can invest in terms of self-development, either reading a book or working on something that I want to work on. So, for example, a year ago, I wanted to focus more on public speaking, and I spent a lot of time on that. So it's the incremental daily change that I focus on, rather than spending three weeks thinking about self-development.
Yeah. I think it's very good to have reflection, regularly, so that you take the key points, take the key learning points, what has happened, and learn from there, improve from there. Otherwise, if you go with the flow, then you tend to, just lose sight of what has happened and not really take advantage or take the learning points from that. All right, so now let's go to the slider question. So we have quite a number of questions here. First question is, how would you lead a team that has one high performer, one average performer, and one low performer?
That's a good question, whoever asked that, because that's probably quite common. I think individualized leadership is something that you have to consider, right? You need to flex your leadership style to make sure that you get the most out of the people that you lead. So, for example, from my perspective, the high performer, I would provide more autonomy if they want to, give them opportunities, more responsibilities, encourage them to go outside the box if they want to, and basically support what they want to do. And then with the less than perfect performer, I think they require something else. So I think in my experience, working with them a bit more collaboratively seems to work. But that's my style. It might not be your style, but I find that a supportive hand holding initially would be useful. But even that, it depends on the mindset of that person, right? It's either they're underperforming because of a technical point, or because their attitude is just not there, and you need to flex that differently. Because if they don't want to be there, there's not much you can do. So I think even that, you can be supportive in trying to understand what is it that they want to achieve from a values perspective.
Yeah, so we need to talk to them first, understand their goals, understand their objectives, then we can lead them better. Yeah, so that's a good point. So the next question is, do you see yourself coming back to work in Malaysia?
Oh, what a good question. It's almost somebody's planted that question. I always consider coming back to Malaysia. I love Malaysia. My family's in Malaysia. Uh, I, if I'm being open, every few years, I do consider coming back. But yeah, it's the art of what's possible and what I can learn, right? And I think I can learn a lot from the region, from Malaysia. So it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and that's good to know. So yeah, a few people here may approach you after this to discuss further. Yeah, next question. Could you share some best practices in actuarial education and the profession in the UK that Malaysia could emulate?
Can you clarify that question a bit more from a technical perspective, or
Yeah, I think first is
from
on
a
the
market?
education. First is on the education side. Next is on the profession, meaning on the industry, on the working side. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the UK doing that can go into Malaysia? Okay, so from an education side, look, I think there are things that you can consider. I think uh the good thing that we have, I think, is around the optionality of the exams. So, you know, with the later exams, we certainly have quite a lot of different teaching that we have. So around, even around general insurance, you can have pricing, capital, reserving. Um, we have risk management, obviously, and investments and things like that. So it's quite broad, and you can pick and choose what you want. So I think that's quite you know, a good thing to be quite broad. In terms of the market itself, and how actuaries are doing in the market, I would say that embrace the opportunities that you have actually in terms of where you are in the market. I think the UK, and this is my personal view, I think it's on the plus side, regulation has created quite a lot of actuarial jobs. Uh, but you know, I think we're at risk at probably just doing the actuarial jobs. So I think if you can embrace kind of the opportunity around not just in the traditional domains and outside of that in wider fields, I think you'll be winning there.
Yeah. Do you think actuaries can be replaced by AI? This
No.
is my question. Do you think actuaries
No,
can be
I
replaced by
don't think actuaries can be replaced by AI. This is a personal view. I think we can be enhanced by AI. We can do so much more, so much added value in the advent of AI. I don't think we're going to be replaced. The thing that I would say is that it is different. The actuaries of the future are going to be different from what we've been doing because of AI. But we need to be cognizant, and we need to make sure that we pivot, and we still stay relevant. We flourish in the changes that are happening, and it's happening fast.
Yeah, agree. What would be the most important trait for an actuary?
Um, Keep your solving skills. Make sure that you keep on having your critical thinking, challenge what you're seeing, be creative as well. I think that's the good thing about being an actuary. Because we start from first principle, it's almost that we can plant or think about the solution in any situation, and I think that's our strength.
So problem-solving skills, addressing a lot of challenges through our data, through our, the maths that we have to help answering questions. That's the key.
And I mean, to that point as well, I would also say, even if you haven't experienced providing the solution for a particular problem, go back to first principle. You have the learning, you have the knowledge to do that, so you use that.
Yeah, good point. Next question. How would you end a personal statement with your envision of being an actuary?
How would I end?
A personal statement. So I think it's like yeah, I think if what would be the final or the end goal or the final, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure, but I think it's more about your view as an actuary, considered a successful actuary.
Ooh, I think I'm not trying to avoid the question, but I think the definition of success is very personal. And in my view, I think sometimes the definition of success in the world is too narrow. Okay. So I think, I don't think somebody's successful if uh they have 5-10 million pounds in the bank, have got to the top of their career, etc. It's so much broader than that. You need to consider other things. So I'm a firm believer in how would somebody describe you when you're gone. And I think people always describe people as how they impact other people. So are you a good person? How did you help other people, and things like that? So for me, it's more around that value, and if that value can be translated into being an actuary, you would be successful. However, you achieve being an actuary.
Right. Yeah, good point. Next question. Would you or I think IFoA consider providing scholarships for students from Malaysia to pursue actual science in the UK to give them a chance like yourself?
So I'm definitely a strong proponent of supporting social mobility through scholarships, grants, and things like that. In fact, we have, through the IFoA Foundation, have a China Southeast Asia fund that we give students who one either are really excellent in their education, and or two, need to, because they can't afford to do it. So so we do have a program such as that. That program is to do the IFoA exams, professional exams, though, rather than coming all the way to the UK to, I'm guessing, to attend university or something. But saying that, the British government has quite a few scholarships that you should consider. The Chevening scholarship and things like that. So so I would encourage you to link up with the British Council, if you haven't already done so, to see what scholarships they have.
Do you think the expansion into non-traditional areas by actuaries is successful, or should we focus on the traditional role?
I think we have to do both. I think we have to be innovative and stay relevant and continue to add value in traditional domains. I don't think we can forget, our insurance background, pensions, financial services. But I also think that we have a role to play to broaden our remit and broaden our impact. So I think it's definitely we need to do both, and we require people to want to do both as well.
Yeah. So after years of practicing, do you think technical skill is more important or communication skill is more important?
You will always need your communication skills, even, you know, at the start of your career, when you're doing a lot of technical work, you still need communication skills. I think communication relatively gets a bit more important the more experience you have, because you're using that judgment-based skills and experience a bit more. So you need to explain what the numbers mean. You need to explain how it impacts the decision that your stakeholders are making and the decision that you're making. So having that knowledge of the technical aspect of the work is continues to be important, but communication is essential.
Yeah, so I think those are the key questions that we have. So maybe I'll like to end with another 2 more questions. So looking back at your career, is there anything you would have done differently?
So I mean, I'm not a regretful person. I don't really regret anything. I got asked this question in, I think, in Harriet Watt in Edinburgh the other day. So I don't really regret anything. I think everything happens for a reason. If you don't get that job or something you went for, I think you know, you need to again reflect on it, and it's not your path, right? So I think that's something that I learned.
Yeah, yeah. So for future goals, so what are your long-term goals beyond your presidency at IFoA?
I go back to the start of this call, which is you know, emphasizing lifelong learning. So if there's anything that interests me, I will definitely pursue it. But it depends. It depends. But what I would say is that I probably continue to have a portfolio career, so an executive and non-executive role, and perhaps, who knows, going into new domains that might be outside of insurance, pensions, investments. Who knows? But one step at a time.
Do you have any particular subject or course that you plan to pursue? You know, as you mentioned, continuous learning, anything that you wanted to do, you wanted to learn so much that you just need the time to do it.
That's a good question. I probably would answer it with a recent experience, actually, which is I attended an acting course with the RADA, Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and that's in the context of you know, things like public speaking and impact, and that's, you know, really unconventional and something outside the box, and I really gained quite a lot from it. So probably going forward, if I reflect on things that I want to get better, I might try an improv course or something like that. Don't you know, don't ask me this in a year's time, because I might not do it, but that actually scares me
Okay.
to do that. So
Okay.
I might just do it.
Yeah, I thought you were planning to move career to acting in a theater.
No,
No.
definitely not.
All right. So I think we're almost at the end of our session. So to wrap up, Katina, we have a quick fire round questions. So I just ask some short questions and you can just answer with a few words. So the first one, tea or coffee?
Tea.
Favorite food?
Kway teow. Char kway teow.
Char kway teow. Favorite book?
Oh, don't know. I don't
No,
have a favorite book. I'm reading a book called Grit at the moment.
great.
Yeah. It's about how
Yeah,
about perseverance and
yeah.
persistence.
Favorite movie?
Mm, I don't have a. Oh no, Legally Blonde.
Legally, okay. All right, interesting. Last TV show that you watch? You watch TV.
I watch the CNN uh,
The
on the
Trump,
US
the US
on the
election.
US election a couple of days ago. So yeah, nothing fancy. I
All
was
right.
watching that.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Oh, Early Bird.
Early bird. Top destination on your travel bucket list?
I just went to one of the best place in the world for me, which is the Maldives.
Hmm. All right, interesting. Most adventurous thing that you have done?
Mm, I would say diving, but I don't think that's adventurous. I would say that the acting course actually.
Acting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. One step to the theater.
improv. Yeah.
If not in actuarial, what career would you have chosen?
I might be an owner of a shop or something.
Any particular shop?
Clothes shop.
Clothes. Oh, okay.
I quite like
Interesting.
a clothes shop.
Um, Dinner with a historical figure. Who would it be? Or
Ooh.
someone who is still alive?
You know, saying about Donald Trump, I wouldn't mind
Donald
having.
Trump. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Oh my God, I shouldn't say that, should I? Anyway, yeah, I'm quite curious
Yeah.
to hear what
His view. Yeah.
his views. Yeah,
Interesting to see whether publicly whether he's the same as in person, in conversation, sitting down with him. Is
yeah,
still the same person. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think those are just simple questions, just for fun.
I mean,
Um,
you should have asked me to prepare for it because I don't like half of my answers.
but yeah, I think that's good enough for us today. Yeah. So Katina, would like to share any last words before we end the session today?
No, thank you for having me. It's been great to see so many of you, especially on a Friday at the end of the day. But um, yeah, a growth mindset, please, and support each other as well.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Katina, for your sharing your time in your busy schedule. So we have really learned a lot from your insights and experiences with us. And it's been inspiring to learn about your journey, your vision for the future, having growth mindset, continuous learning, and also your dedication to foster inclusivity, sustainability, especially in our profession with the changing and the advancement technology. So really appreciate that on behalf of the ASM. We appreciate your time there.
Thank you for having me. Terima kasih.
Yes.
Have a good
Yes.
weekend.